this stuff, and we weren't quite ready yet to go public. And then we were forced to go public with it.
I was home watching TV, and Barbara's picture came on the news, and that's when what has happened. And they mentioned something about a serial killer. I had no information. I didn't know there was other victims. I called the 77th precinct, and they said to me, we've been trying to get in touch with you. And I'm saying to myself, I don't think so. If you wanted to get in touch with me, you knew how. So you guys, need to tell us what you know, what's going on.
Forced to shift gears, the LAPD begins asking the community for help, finally sharing information they kept private for years.
We had a couple different meetings with the
I'm not gonna rely upon you for do something
We
stupid.
gave them what we had, which we don't know. We need help. We had billboards posted in a couple different areas in South Central of the composite Anitria had given years earlier, and what age progression, what that might look like today.
I'm sure he has some issues. Oh, he's got it! He got it right here! Beachmore Belfort looking to finish his fight. Jones trying to power out of it. Can he get it? He might break that arm, Mike. He might break that arm.
We were very encouraged.
You know what? It's a little high now. I think he's out. He's out. He's out.
That's what I'm like.
That's one thing we hadn't seen from Vitor before. But he just shows he has it. Oh, he's gonna get smushed. This is it. Oh man, big elbows by John. Now good for Belfort. This guy's trying to get him in the mounted crucifix. He just needs to secure the right arm. Now he's going for it more. It is all over it. John Jones remains the UFC.
It looks like that my neighbor and all that. So we go out.
Deeper, but the database is growing day by day.
Thank you for stopping by, guys.
Then in March 2010,
Hi, what's up? What's up?
bumps into Jill at a homicide.
Willard, hi. I love cats.
She says,
I love cats too.
it's been a
Thank you for
couple
stopping by,
years.
guys. I was just doing a little shout out today.
Grown,
Sam Glove.
maybe another million or so.
Hi, everyone. I don't have a gloves today.
Your suspect
I'm in the
profile
house.
again.
Thank you for stopping in, Sam
It
Gloves.
was July 4th weekend.
Thank you for stopping in again.
It was Paul,
And
my partner.
who love
And
cats?
he said, "Do you want to come to work?"
Well, Willard.
I said,
Thank you
"What's
very much."
going on?" He says, "We've got something. We've got a familiar match."
No, I don't have any days of go only in the garage, guys. And the guys, we're on the road to 1,000 subscriber. And thank you for stopping in on this Remembrance Day. Hi, my brother. Thank you for stopping in.
Years old, and that's Lonnie Franklin's son. And he seemed to
Thank you
have
for stopping in. Hi, my brother. How are you doing today? Today's a special day. Today's Remembrance Day in Canada.
For a gun case.
Big up all the veterans. I salute you guys. Thank you for your service. Serving the country.
To provide a sample as part of his.
About 56, 57.
Lo and behold,
I love gloves too, but I don't have any in the house right now. You see when I go, how was your day? How's everything going?
His physical description.
Pakistan.
5'8", whatever.
Thank you for stopping in. And guys, if you have any question about mechanic, please ask right here. This is where you learn everything about mechanic, and today's a slow day. And don't forget to subscribe, Pakistan. We appreciate you.
Many of the women that were murdered were found within very close proximity to Lonnie's home.
We're just having
They
a
were found
little
in
drink.
alleys, near dumpsters. And who would know the best alleys and dumpsters to hide a body? Someone who used to work with the Department of Sanitation.
That was his route. That was his route. Some of the bodies were found probably within a few blocks of his residence. I mean, everything
Pakistan
was
in the
found
house.
there.
Thank you, Pakistan. Appreciate you.
But before they can make an arrest, investigators need to be completely sure that Lonnie Franklin Jr. matches the DNA profile recovered from the victims.
Just watching my show, guys. Thank you for stopping by. If you're new to the channel, please consider
We
subscribing.
need a DNA sample from this guy. Follow him until he discards something where we can get a DNA sample.
Yes, Trump is a good guy too, and I think everybody have a little bit of good in them and have a little bit of bad. But I like what he say with the gender. You can't mess with people's gender. But I don't know. But yeah, everybody have a little bit of good or go to be the bad. So big up Trump, wherever you are, Trump.
The surveillance team
Good luck and hope you do good for the people. It's all about the people, not even about yourself. Just do good for the people, and they love you. So if they vote for you, make sure they're proud.
Contacts the manager and says, hey.
All right, guys, don't forget to subscribe, share the live with your friends and your family, and kick the thumbs up button. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, guys. 1,000.
Sure, go ahead. So they go in.
For like 3 hours, he's there at this little kid's birthday party, bussing tables, and he's got his little gloves on, collecting stuff as Lonnie would discard it. And he would collect it and put it in a separate tray.
The surveillance team, detectives, gives them to our people who take them to our laboratory. He apparently did bite into a pizza. So they swabbed the cheese. Boom, we have a DNA sample. So less than 3 days, they came back with the results. It is a match. It's a perfect match.
Wow. Is that your car in the picture? Yes, that's my car. I have it for 14 years. I have the car for 13 to 14 years. It's a nice car. It does it time. I'm still running the car right now, but it's in park until the winter. Thank you very much. And big up all the veterans in the house. And don't forget to subscribe and click the notification button. Guys, I'll be going live tomorrow at my shop. So I'll be doing some work live. So don't be shy. Click the thumbs up. Click notification. If you just want to come in and say hi, just say hi to the channel and have a hi and bye. It's all good. Thank you very much for the love and support, guys. Keep the support going, guys. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers.
Say we have a warrant for your arrest for murder, and he goes, murder? Oh, okay. And that was it.
With Lonnie now in custody, police execute a search warrant on his property.
We're looking for firearms. We're looking for any other evidence that connects them. If he kept any trophies from any of them.
That search of his residence was a massive undertaking. I have never in 35 years.
Yeah, it's a nice car. It had the nice rims and everything. Really nice. It's service time, man. I bought the car 12 years ago and a half, 13 years ago. And it's really never no problem. Never have a check engine light. Never have nothing. And I'm a mechanic, and I'm not even getting anything to fix on my own car. That's so sad. But it is what it is. Whenever you go by the doctor, your dentist, your teeth don't go bad. You know when you get your head toothache and you go by the dentist, your car, dentist, your teeth stop hurting you. Just like the car. You know the mechanic is there to fix, so you don't go bad. It's best behavior.
Predominantly black women found on these Polaroids. Many of them unconscious, some of them in provocative sexual positions. Many of them appear to be completely unaware that there's a picture being taken of them at a very vulnerable moment.
When the cops saw all these pictures in his garage, they were horrified. They thought initially, oh my God, has he killed like 500 women?
Some of the photos date back 30 years, and investigators have no way of knowing how many of the women were additional murder victims. At least one of them, however, is very much alive.
One of these Polaroid pictures was of Anitria Washington looking like she had passed out. The cops took that Polaroid picture to Anitria Washington, and that's when she was able to say, I wasn't imagining this, I wasn't dreaming. That is a picture of me. I do remember when he snapped that shot, when this bright light went off, and I was going in and out of consciousness. So she was able to actually identify herself, her 27-year-old self, from 22 years before when she was shot by Lonnie Franklin.
Along with Polaroids, police also find numerous pieces of jewelry and women's clothing, as well as several driver's licenses. Lonnie's neighbors...
Okay, I'll be back. Just give me 1 second.
Most of the neighbors told us he was a decent man.
My uncle knew Lonnie from the community. He wasn't someone that created fear or anything of that nature or intimidation, and no one in the community suspected that Lonnie Franklin could be a murderer, let alone a grim sleeper.
While the search of Lonnie's home continues, detectives at the station begin questioning him.
You have any idea why you're here? Okay, we're working on an investigation, and there's a warrant for your arrest, charging you count of murder. Yes, sir.
Went over the basic little chit chat, verifying stuff.
We have been investigating a murder that occurred in 2007.
And then I start bringing out the photos.
I'm going to show you a photograph of this young lady and see if you recognize her.
I started with Janisha.
You've never seen that girl before. All right, I'm sure you've probably heard about DNA. Okay, well, your DNA was identified in relation to this young lady. How could that happen? I don't know. You have no idea?
He looks very detached, very cold, and just like he's not in the room. They show him multiple pictures of them, and he claims he's never met them. He even makes some very heartless and crass jokes about how some of the women look.
This young lady here, her name is Bernita Sparks. Why?
He just was, I would say, rude. He was rude, offhand, almost arrogant.
This young lady, her name is Henrietta Wright. Go ahead, take a close look. I don't know.
Lonnie Franklin had the audacity to look at one of these poor victims and said, she's ugly. And that stuck out in my mind as just what kind of a horrible person he was. To say that about this person that he clearly killed for absolutely no reason at all.
You pick up these young ladies, you have sex with them, you kill them, and then you dump their bodies in alleys throughout the city of Los Angeles. Most of them not too far from your house. They're trash to you. Well, now the science has caught up with you. Mr. Franklin, your signature is on every one of these young ladies. There's no getting out of it.
The absolute clincher was when they came out with the fact that there was one that survived because he believed that none of them survived.
One of these gals has survived. And she's going to have a grand time sitting in a courtroom looking down at a man that did her some terrible, terrible things years ago. These girls, they can't talk. But we got one that can. You've told Western Avenue for the last time.
That's when he got very nervous in the interrogation room. Because he knew that he was caught then.
And you think that's just going to make it go away?
I don't say it's going to make it go away. I just have to get an attorney because I ain't know none of these people, so I don't get that. I have to get an attorney.
As detectives wrap up their interrogation of Lonnie, other officers are interviewing Lonnie's wife, Sylvia.
I had a brief exchange with her. I asked her about, what kind of person he was, what did he do? And she said, well, it's just a normal relationship. He does what he wants to do. I said, well, yeah, but we knew he would go out in the middle of the night because a surveillance team was watching him. And he'd go up and down Western trying to talk to girls. She wasn't aware of that. And from examining the house, it kind of looked like he had his own space. He had his own office. I'm not sure if they were sharing a bedroom or not. I really felt bad for his wife. She was very nice and seemed to understand what we're explaining to her. Didn't want to try to embarrass her. She was already getting enough, stares from the neighborhood.
On July 7, 2010, Lonnie Franklin Jr. is charged with 10 counts of murder, 1 count of kidnapping, and 1 count of attempted murder. But the mountain of photographs found in his garage suggests the body count might be higher than anyone ever imagined.
tell us about Tanya Harding?
I don't know it, Tony Harding.
Are you her bodyguard?
What kind of friggin' person bashes in their friend's knee?
Peter, who was very naughty, ran straight away to Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed out of the gate. Friendly sparrows, who flew to him in great excitement and implored him to exert himself. Mr. McGregor came up with a safe, which he intended to pop upon the top of Peter. Peter never stopped running or looked behind him.
On December 16th, 2010, the LAPD makes public 180 of the photos seized during the raid on Lonnie Franklin's residence. The hope is that someone will recognize and help identify the many other women who may have also lost their lives at the hands of the grim sleeper.
Police say these pictures suggest there may be more victims.
I just think it's absurd to think that he just stopped one day and then started up another day 14, 13 years later.
These women were dubbed the Polaroid women. Law enforcement didn't know if they were dead, if they were alive, if they had moved away.
Cops are hoping that family members will come forward, or even the women themselves, to identify them.
One person who sees the photos in the newspaper is the grandfather of LaWanna Wilson.
That morning, my grandfather got the paper. When he opened up, he seen my picture. And he has my mother newspaper, and he shows my picture. My mother started crying. She's like, girl, you gotta leave this stuff alone. You see this? They got you in the newspaper. They said you're dead. I never seen that picture a day of my life until it came out of the newspaper. I'm like, wait a minute, who took a picture of me when I was asleep? Like, and then I looked, I said, that's that old picture when my cousin gave me that pink dress. That's when I was 14.
The photograph triggers a long repressed memory, and LaWanna realizes it was taken when she was raped years earlier by Lonnie Franklin.
That picture of me sitting in the vehicle is the gray minivan that was parked on the driveway the day he did his rape. He took me to his house first, sexually assaulted me, and then dumped me in that damn U-Haul truck.
LaWanna never told friends or family about the rape or who committed it.
It sends me into drug addiction, and then the drug addiction sends me into mental health. Then mental health sends me straight into homelessness. Now, homelessness, it turns into sex walking, sex slaves, because the drugs have me a slave to the streets. Now I'm jumping in and out of cars, telling myself that I'm just gonna be careful. I'm not gonna get in a car with the wrong person. And that wasn't always the case.
But that's only half of LaWanna's nightmare encounter with the grim sleeper. Years later, while working the streets, she's picked up and raped again by Lonnie Franklin.
I just knew he was the same guy, so I figured he must live in this neighborhood because I done ran him. And I didn't know how to get in touch with the people who knew him at this time.
That's when LaWanna's grandfather deals her an even more shocking blow. One that seems to explain why Lonnie Franklin, aka the Grim Sleeper, the man...
Okay, thank you for stopping in, guys. Please consider subscribing to my channel. If you like anything,
it turns out that Lonnie is actually her cousin.
I didn't even know it was him that threw me in the U-Haul. I didn't even know it was him that I was sitting in the car with next on 74. And little did I know he was my cousin. I didn't know nothing about a Lonnie Franklin or a Grim Sleeper.
Investigators are eventually able to identify and determine the fate of most of the so-called Polaroid women. They now believe that Lonnie Franklin murdered 6 additional women, 2 of which were killed during the 14-year period when the Grim Sleeper was allegedly dormant.
They just didn't have the evidence to actually charge him with it.
we've already got him charged with 10 murders. So what's 4 or 5 more if he gets life without or death or whatever? So I think the decision was made that we wouldn't file it.
On February 16th, 2016, the murder trial of Lonnie Franklin,
Guys,
perhaps the most prolific serial killer in California history, gets underway.
The prosecution was under an immense amount of pressure at this point because it's been so many years, and the police honestly dropped the ball a lot during the investigation. So they felt like, hey, this is our last chance.
The trial is attended by many family members of Lonnie's victims. Diana Ware, the stepmother of Barbara Ware, believed to be the third woman murdered by Lonnie, is determined to be there every day.
After my husband passed, my friend says, "Are you going to be going to court all the time?" Yes, I am, because I want them to know Barbara was loved. My husband's not here to represent that.
The gallery was filled with just reporters and victims' family members. And that was it. There was no supporters of Lonnie Franklin in the courtroom. His wife never showed up to the trial. His daughter never showed up to the trial, and his son never showed up to the trial.
Lonnie Franklin brought a romance novel to the courtroom to read during his trial. The level of disconnect and disregard for what is happening, the people he's impacted for the rest of their lives, the children whose mothers he took away, the impact on these families and in this community, it just shook me to my core.
Part of me wanted to jump over that counter and tear his behind at myself.
This is an extremely dangerous man, and you don't want any flubs or leave any possible openings for anyone to say he's not guilty. You want to put forth the strongest evidence and the strongest cases possible to remove all doubt in order to get this man off the streets.
They had to get evidence from 1985 to 2007 proving that it was the same .25 caliber gun and that it was the same killer killing each of the victims with the same DNA on every one of them.
Prosecutors also have a star witness. On February 25th, 2016, Anitra Washington takes the stand to describe the night Lonnie left her for dead.
Anitra Washington had no fear. So when she said who the person was that shot her, she would look right in Lonnie's face and she said, "He's sitting right there. That's the man who shot me."
To think that she went through this after he shot her and then gonna take her picture, that was kind of hard for me to sit through.
To have the courage to take the stand and face the man who tried to kill her and raped her in court. She's a true hero.
In his closing argument, Lonnie's defense attorney claims his client is innocent.
The defense's theory was some other guy did it, or there were multiple other guys that committed these murders, and it wasn't Lonnie Franklin. There was a mystery nephew that circled around sometimes, but there was basically no evidence of a viable alternate suspect in this nephew.
On May 5th, 2016, the jury delivers their verdict. They find Lonnie Franklin Jr. guilty on 10 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted murder. His wife and children maintain their silence.
It's been 30 years, and we needed this. And it hurted our family to lose her. It kind of destroyed her. She had 5 kids.
We share a similar court pain, the pain of losing someone that you didn't deserve to be lost. I want to remember the sweet little girl who had her whole life in front of her.
It's just unbelievable, a human being to be so cold and uncaring.
Most gracious God, we thank you, Lord, for the justice which has been served today.
4 weeks later, Lonnie is back in court for his sentencing hearing. His wife and children do not appear on his behalf. But families of the victims are there to speak up for their lost loved ones.
We just told them just how we felt. You took a loved one from us. We'll always miss that person. There's always going to be an empty chair at that table. Not only did you take a child, you took a mother or a sister. I got a lot off my chest by just letting them know just how I felt.
But perhaps the most powerful impact statement comes from the first victim Lonnie sexually assaulted back in the 1970s, who came all the way from Germany to testify.
Her name was Ingrid. She was the one who was gang raped. She explained how she was thrown into this vehicle with these army men that raped her. This rape could have been the catalyst for what was to come. It gave him the taste of raping and being violent with women. So that woman lived. I don't think he was thinking of being a serial killer at that time, but it did certainly set the stage for what he was to become.
In June 2016, 31 years after he claimed the life of his first confirmed victim, Lonnie Franklin Jr. receives his sentence.
Alicia Alexander's parents say death is the right choice.
But not only does Lonnie never admit to killing any of his victims, he never meets his date with the executioner either.
When I first heard that Lonnie Franklin had died in prison, I can't say I was relieved. I wanted him to suffer a little bit longer, but then I thought that's not my decision to make. This is something that God did because he wants to give him the final word.
Everybody, check out my YouTube channel.
His body shows no sign of trauma, and an official cause of death has never been
My
released.
channel there. I just started. I'm just waiting for the video. So
As for the Grim Sleeper's
don't
actual
forget to
body
subscribe.
count, the LAPD may never
No
know.
problem.
There's probably other
Send the
ones
card
that
out.
we'll never know about. He was a trash collector. I mean, what was it to say they're not in some landfill somewhere?
I believe it took a long time for the Los Angeles Police Department to identify that there was an issue, for them to pay attention to the cries of the community in South Central, because women of color from low economic communities are often overlooked and dismissed in
Alright
our
guys, don't
country.
forget to check out the channel.
Women were being taken from Beverly Hills, an Ivy League campus. I guarantee you that it would not have taken 31 years to find that murderer.
I think there was a belief in the community down there that the police department didn't care, which is far from the truth. We do care. I mean, sometimes some cases are harder than others. If you look at the investigations that were done in the 80s with these victims, it's what enabled us in the 2000s to be able to go back and solve these cases, things that they had done, things that we had learned. This technology has come so far.
Following this case, my hope is that the police and the community could come together. Detective Shepard and Coulter tried to really communicate with us. The differences that we had in the beginning, we overcame them. They did the best they could, and we appreciated all that they did.
The Grim Sleeper will go down in history as one of the longest operating serial killers to ever prowl the streets of a major American city, all the while hiding in plain sight.
When I first saw Lonnie Franklin, I was shocked at how, he didn't look like a serial killer.
It's very disconcerting to discover that somebody that you have seen in the neighborhood for years and made a certain set of assumptions about suddenly turns out to be a cold-hearted killer. And I'm sure there are a lot of people in that neighborhood who, even to this day, are very disconcerted by the fact that they never saw what this guy really was.
This was someone who lived in the neighborhood for years.
And to find out that at the end of it all, he was a killer, a serial killer at that. You know, living right up under everyone's nose. It was really, really gnarly feeling. You don't know who you're sitting next to, walk down the street with. You just don't know.
Well, guys,
A&W Burger.
Let's go.
Juicy grass-fed beef.
Let's go.
With real cheddar cheese and crisp bacon.
Let's go!
You should go.
Oh, yeah.
Taste the Teen Burger at A&W.
When a 19-year-old shows up dead,
It was gunshot wound, execution style.
It was just shocking.
a small police department on the Alaskan coast is rocked to its core.
She'd just been discarded.
The killer is not only cruel, he's smart.
The person who did commit this crime has knowledge of how not to leave evidence.
One suspect even has police on edge.
I not only felt in danger, I felt my family's in danger.
He wanted to kill someone. So he did. Yeah, that's evil.
Nome, Alaska, a small outpost 537 miles northwest of Anchorage, hemmed in by impassable mountains and the rough edge of the Bering Sea. The 3,000 people who live here all depend on one another to survive.
Nome is a very tight-knit place. It's a great place to be.
The crime rate is about half the state average. In the town's 7-person police department, a big night is rounding up some rowdy drunks. That all changed in the summer of 2003.
It's our feeling that we caught a serial killer on his first victim, and to this day, that's my belief. I believe he would have killed again.
It begins with a missing persons report filed by a young woman for her roommate, Sonia Ivanov.
I haven't seen her for, what, 2 days now?
We went over to a friend's house, we played some board games, and I couldn't stay up late because I had to go to work at 6 a.m. and she took off. She was going to check out another friend's house. I ended up crashing out on my friend's couch, got up early around 5 o'clock and took a cab home, and she wasn't home. she didn't have to work. I figured she would get a hold of me later on, and I went to work that day and didn't hear from her at all when I was at work, and got pretty worried. I had contacted a couple of our mutual friends asking if they heard from Sonia. They told me no, they hadn't heard from her. She wasn't one to just go off and not tell anybody where she was going, what she was gonna do. She always let people know. And so for us to not hear from her, that was odd.
The day after Timmery files the missing persons report, the police launch a search armed with a current photo of Sonia. 3 hours later, on an old mining road 2 miles north of town, a volunteer spots something in the brush.
We assumed that, of course, that was Sonia. We went out to the scene. We walked through the brush. There's a way to get to her without walking over where whoever did her wrong probably had been.
After viewing the body, Officer Byron Redburn confirms it's 19-year-old Sonia Ivanov.
I've been to a lot of different homicide scenes, and most all of them were always very messy. This one didn't strike me so much that way. There's no
Okay, thank you for stopping in.
injury to her that I could see. She was naked with the exception of one sock. You assume that there's been some sort of sexual assault. There was some leaves on her.
5, 10,
Looked like she'd been struck or something. I could see she was a beautiful young lady. Could have just been discarded. We walked all over the area. We picked up anything that we were afraid might blow away or get destroyed. There were some tracks with what appeared to be blood in it, and we could see where the tires rolled through.
This is the first time a woman's been murdered here in 2.5 years.
We realized that we're a department with not many assets. There's only 7 of us working, and we still have to provide 24/7 coverage. We need to get some help.
No Mall Village of Unlaclete to save money for college. Mall Village of Unlaclete to save money for college. Her roommate Timmery was also her best friend from childhood.
She was my other half. I did A, she did B. She was my yin to my yang. I don't know. We were inseparable. We finished each other's sentence. We were best friends. The best friends any best friend can be.
By the time Sonia got to know him, she was already something of a local celebrity.
She was an amazing athlete. She was nice and tall. She was tough. She was strong. Everybody knew her because in the villages, people know you if you're good at a sport, and she was really good at basketball. She was that tall girl from Unlaclete.
The next morning, criminologist Carrie Cathcart from the Alaska Bureau of Investigation arrives to process the scene.
As a crime scene investigator, we have to take all the photographs, we have to sketch the scene, we have to mark the items of evidence that we want to document and collect. And we're also there assessing who could have done this.
Thank you for stopping in,
You
guys.
have to remove yourself from the violence that happened. You have to go into it as an analytical thinker, what happened here and what evidence is at the scene that I can bring back.
This is a road that was kind of overgrown with brush from both sides. Some folks obviously went back there to park and party, but this is not a thoroughfare. There isn't a lot of traffic.
But there are those tire tracks. Cathcart takes a closer look.
It wasn't like a pool of blood, it was just mud on the road and then blood, and then a vehicle had driven through it. And then turned around because it was a dead-end road and then come back out.
She samples the puddle with a hemostick, same kind of test doctors use to check for blood and urine. It's positive.
Our initial thinking was she was injured in this road and then obviously was there for maybe not a significant amount of time, but some period of time where a lot of blood loss happened. And then she was dragged into the bushes and stripped her of her clothing.
Her theory is confirmed when she analyzes the area around Sonia's body and finds very little blood and no scratches on her. If the killer had taken her clothes off on the road and then moved her, Sonia's body would have been cut and scraped. Cathcart does notice the deep bruising on Sonia's face.
Maybe there was some sort of struggle. Maybe she didn't want to do something that the suspect wanted her to do. Maybe he got mad. We did a closer examination of her body to see if we could see any evidence on her at all. We didn't, but we did tape lifts of the body to possibly collect anything we couldn't see.
When they lift her head, they find a gunshot wound hidden under her hair, likely the cause of death. But they don't find any shell casings.
We canvassed the area. We didn't find her clothes. We didn't find a weapon, so there wasn't a lot there at the scene. The very lack of evidence means that someone who did commit this crime, has knowledge of how not to leave evidence, how to be very careful in terms of cleaning up a scene.
They seem to have overlooked the bloody tire tracks. Investigators make impressions of their distinctive treads.
It's the same thing that Dennis used to cast teeth, and then once it's good enough, we'll collect them.
Nearby, they locate another critical clue.
There was a branch that was overhanging that road, and there was just a little bit of blue paint transfer on it. It was a little higher up, so maybe it was an SUV or a truck.
While they wait for lab results on the truck paint, the team reviews what they've been able to determine so far. 1. The killer probably drives a blue vehicle. 2. This is someone who knows how to cover his tracks. And 3. The young woman showing up naked and dead just 2 miles outside of town. Nome is no longer a safe place to be.
With every Starbucks order, you're not just getting a cup of coffee. You're helping support farmers who grow coffee across the globe. And comprehensive health and well-being benefits for the baristas who brew it. Reusable cups and renewable energy. And stronger communities worldwide. Including a $3 million donation to World Central Kitchen, supporting their efforts to provide food in Gaza. Together, we can create a place where everyone is welcome.
Sometimes, it's not where you're going that matters. It's how you get there. Because life isn't about reaching a destination. It's about the moments we share along the way. Joy is in the journey.
Sample from Billy. You'll pull a bit of this conviction. She's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. If only you could get her a little bit of all the things. Ooh, don't overthink it. The best beauty gifts come only at Sephora.
You combed through every last piece of evidence. You made the final, impossible connection. There's more to imagine when you listen.
In the small town of Nome, Alaska, the body of 19-year-old Sonia Ivanov has been discovered on a dead-end road. The 7-person police force isn't equipped to process a complex murder scene, so the Alaska Bureau of Investigation has jumped in to help. Criminologist Carrie Cathcart has collected a branch with blue paint on it and made an impression of the tire tracks left in the dirt road.
The suspect had 3 of the same tires on his truck. They're one different tire.
It's determined that the blue paint is a standard color found on a number of trucks and SUVs. While investigators are dispatched to look for vehicles matching that description, Officer Byron Redburn pays a visit to Sonia's roommate, Timmery.
Well, guys, thank you for stopping in, guys. Don't forget to click the subscription button, guys, and look at my Pokemon.
That there would be some sort of clue or information there somewhere. Give us some leads.
We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, guys. We're doing it alone. We're doing it by ourselves. We're doing it chilling. We don't want no problem with nobody. We're just chilling by
There were
ourselves.
some girls jealous of her because she was so pretty, but I mean, who would be so evil enough to shoot her? Or it was just so shocking.
When Officer Redburn goes through Sonia's photo album, one image grabs his attention.
I saw a photograph of Sonia with a big bruise on her bicep. It was quite noticeable.
That was from a friend of ours.
These boys would often come over and they'd watch movies, and sometimes they were wrestling around. One of them, while wrestling around, would give her this bruise.
His name is Andrew Donnelly, but everyone in town calls him Donnie.
I was told that he was sweet on Sonia. Then came along the bruise. It just kind of makes you think a little bit about her.
Redburn immediately has Donnie brought in.
And he's telling me, well, geez, he really likes Sonia, and he'll do whatever he has to do to cooperate, because whatever happened to her was wrong. And it couldn't have been him. He was out in the country hunting.
He said he was near Council, several miles from Nome, but that he was out camping with his friends. The friends were talked to. They confirmed that they were out there hunting, but they said that he was in a separate shack than the other guys, and that they could not guarantee that he had been there all night.
That means Donnie could have driven the 73 miles back to Nome, killed Sonia, and returned to the hunting camp without anyone ever noticing.
So we had to look at Donnie a little bit harder.
The next day, police get a warrant to search Donnie's home.
I saw some red and white sneakers. Had lots of blood on them.
In the garage, Donnie's truck.
It's a blue pickup truck, so immediately we think, okay, there's blue paint transfer at the scene. We kind of start looking inside the truck. There was a blue tarp. It had I would say a significant amount of what appeared to be blood on it. And I sampled that. It was presumptive positive for blood.
When they spray the tires with a product called fluorescein, they see a telling green glow. More blood. Behind the driver's seat, they find his hunting rifles.
There was a stain on one of the butts of the rifles. It was presumptive positive for blood. When you have blood on a firearm and you have blood on a tarp and you have blood in the wheel wells of your truck, then you think, okay, like maybe this person had something to do with the crime.
When they check the truck's tire treads, 3 tires match. 1 does not. Just like the tires on the vehicle that drove through the crime scene.
I knew we had our guy. We just had to get it done somehow.
Despite the mounting evidence, Donnie still insists he had nothing to do with Sonia's murder.
shot a porcupine.
He said he shot a porcupine, and that was the source of blood in the truck. And he had run over a rabbit, and the rabbit was still alive, and he went out and crushed it with his shoes to put it out of his misery.
When I heard the story, I thought it was ridiculous. It was too far-fetched to be true.
Then they get the lab results. All of the blood found at Donnie's house, from the sneakers, the tarp, the tires, the rifles, none of it is human. And the paint on Donnie's truck doesn't match the paint on the branch collected at the murder scene.
If we were talking about the 1960s or 70s, Donnie would be in jail for the death of Sonia Ivanov today. But forensically, it turned out that it wasn't him.
When the autopsy report comes in, an X-ray shows a .22 caliber bullet lodged in Sonia's brain.
It was a gunshot wound, very close range, almost contact to the back of her head, execution style. And so that was the cause of her death. There was nothing under Sonia's fingernails, no skin from anybody else.
And there's no sign of sexual assault.
When you find somebody that's naked, you assume that there's been a transfer of fluids. The hope is we're gonna get somebody's DNA and we're gonna make this case. And there's nothing in there.
And the tape lifts are a dead end too.
Whenever one object has contact with another, there's a transfer of hair, fiber. If we could find the clothes, we might be able to come up with some more clues.
Almost 4 weeks after Sonia's death, the search for her missing clothes leads the investigation to Nome's landfill.
A great number of people came out, all sorts of folks volunteered, and we did not find anything in the dump, in that end of the dump searches.
Then, just when the investigation begins to hit a wall, a call comes into the station that sends police in the one direction they really don't want to go.
I saw Sonia Ivanov just before she disappeared.
In August of 2003, the 7-person Nome Police Department has a big city problem. A ruthless killer has taken the life of Sonia Ivanov and left barely a trace of himself behind.
Do you know who did this?
Since the isolated community has so few visitors passing through, locals are convinced the killer must be one.
Alright guys, thank you for stopping in guys. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like if you like anything on my videos. We're on the road to 1,000 guys.
Nobody believed it or wanted to believe that something so violent can happen in such a small little community.
The strongest new lead comes from a woman named Allison Warren. She says she and her sister saw Sonia after midnight on the night she went missing.
They were at their house when they saw Sonia Ivanov. They have a conversation with her in front of the house, and Sonia then keeps on going.
Have fun if you guys go. Very fun. Bye.
At the corner, a Nome police car pulls up to her.
They saw the window come down, that there was a conversation, obviously, between the driver and Sonia, and that Sonia got into that police car.
That means 3 people saw Sonia before she disappeared. 2 young women, and whoever was driving that police car.
Instead of the police car turning to the west to take her home, the police car went straight across the street.
And the only thing in that direction is the highway that leads to the deserted mining area where Sonia's body was found.
The women felt uncomfortable enough about it to check what time it was, and it was 1:26 in the morning on August 11th.
In an instant, the Nome suspect pool plummets from 3,000 residents down to 7 police officers.
You certainly don't want it to be one of your guys. How could it be one of us? You know, why would we do anything like this?
Known police officers only use squad cars during their shifts. The first step to identifying the mystery is to see who was on duty that night.
Turned out that particular evening, there was only 2 officers working. One was Paul Souza, the other was Matthew Owens.
Matt Owens is a Florida transplant who joined the force 3 years ago. He's a firearms expert and trains other cops on the use of weapons.
Paul Souza was a referee on Sonia's basketball teams. He'd worked out in the jail for a number of years. He grew up in Nome. It was a good family that he was from.
Both are solid officers and have been working non-stop to solve Sonia's murder. But if one of them is her killer, it would explain why there was a lack of evidence at the crime scene.
They sent him to the police academy where they're taught evidence gathering, being evidence aware, what types of evidence to look for that the public might not think about. Not all that stuff's on CSI.
Both Souza and Owens insist they didn't pick up Sonia.
I never saw her that night.
And you never gave her a ride anymore? They both passed the polygraph, and there's no reason to damage the credibility of known police officers.
Strongly suggested that whoever took that car was the murderer.
Investigators aren't sure if the killer is toying with them or trying to tell them something.
She says, well, let's see if they left you a note. I responded, fat chance. That would be just unbelievable. And then she opened up the envelope and she goes, they did.
To be found. The note is analyzed by an FBI profiler who gives his assessment to the Alaska State investigators.
He uses Sonia's name, so there's familiarity with the victim. Things transpired. He wanted to see if he could kill someone. So he did.
And the letter makes it clear he's willing to kill anyone who comes after him.
I'll leave you alone, you leave me alone. If you get too close, I'll shoot you in the head.
I not only felt in danger, I felt my family's in danger as well as everybody else. I can remember watching the whole time. If this guy comes, we will defend ourselves.
There wasn't any doubt in my mind.
On October 25th, 2.5 months after Sonia went missing, they arrest Matt Owens. News spreads like wildfire across Nome.
Once I found out there was a police officer that was the main suspect, that hit hard. I didn't want to think this, but it's like, who could I even trust to talk to?
I just feel disgusted. How is it that somebody that you're supposed to trust could do something just horrendous?
With Owens under arrest, phones at the police station start ringing off the hook with calls from terrified Native women, all telling the same story.
Women started coming forward saying he would pick me up, he would force me to have sex with him in the patrol car, and then he'd just cut me off and say, no one's gonna believe a drunk Indian, so go say what you want.
Initially, it started off as unauthorized ride-alongs. He'd pick up people that he knew. They would engage in sexual activity while he was on duty. He starts using the gun. If you don't do what I say, I'm going to shoot you. You start seeing an escalation of the violence that is being threatened.
But there are a few big holes in the case against Matt Owens. The Native women say he brandished his police-issued .45 Glock. Sonia was killed with a .22 semi-automatic. Owens doesn't own a blue truck, and none of the known squad cars match the blue paint or the tire tracks found at the scene. They've uncovered a sexual predator, but there's no proof Matt Owens shot Sonia on the isolated road.
We've got this vehicle that we know drove through the pool of blood in the road. That's a problem. So we've got to find this vehicle. I'm thinking, how many vehicles in Nome have 3 tires that are the same and one that is different? This can't be that hard.